Paris. How are you? Welcome. Oh, hold on for a second. No. Listen, the day is trying me. It is trying me, but that's okay. It's not going to beat me. I am here. I am showing up. Welcome to another episode of Conversations from Paris, where my goal is to have a conversation that's going to shift you into movement, shift you into action, change your consciousness, change your perspective, and eventually have the ability to change everything for the better. I believe conversations can do that, not just conversations for me, but I just think conversations can do that. And if you have never been on here, welcome. You will love it here. Do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you can know when I'm coming on. Also, please like, comment, and share. If you like what you hear, like the episode, comment, I will respond, and share because you just don't know who could actually use the extra assistance. Hey, Ro girl, hey. So I definitely am excited about today for a lot of reasons. Number one, somebody was joking. I thought it was the best joke ever. And they said, Happy New Year's. And I'm like, it's clearly February 1st, but like how many of y'all feel like January just went by like super fast? Like it just slid by. And I'm just like, yeah, it did. So we're going to just say this is the new January. This is the January 0.2. You know what I'm saying? This is the next version, like 2.0. Like this is that. So Happy New Year to you. I told you guys something new was about to happen this week, and you guys, I can't really go and do a full look, but I'll just give you a little peek there. Yes, that is my view at my new apartment, and I moved in Friday, so yay! I don't know if you guys caught up with me, but like I told you, I moved to Houston. I will tell the whole story later, but it's a whole thing. I'm so grateful for just all the different ways that I've been blessed, and just I'm telling y'all, if nothing else, I'll tell you for about mental health purposes, the sun does it. You need sunlight, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm gonna give y'all a little sneak a little bit again. It's dark around here now, but imagine what that's like when the sun is fully on. Bling. All right, so it's wonderful. So I'm just grateful. Okay, so I'm gonna get into it. So today is supposed to be my hot topics, and I had a whole list of things written down. But you ever have it where you have these plans about what you're gonna do, and then something takes over? And that's what happened today. There was a story that took over, and to be honest with you, you guys probably know the story. You probably heard it over and over again. You might be tired of hearing it, but I don't care, because if anybody's gonna talk about it, it's gonna be me on this mental health platform. And so I very much so I'm careful about how I present things and how I say how I tell stories, right? Because my biggest fear, not fear, I don't want to say fear, my biggest concern is for me to ever become somebody that just becomes journalistic. And I'm not, because I'm not that, right? It's not just journalistic. My purpose, and again, I also don't want to just talk to sound gossipy. I told you this is no Wendy Williams, no shade to her, but it's just not. I'm not here to get likes because I'm talking about the latest things. I'm legitimately talking about stories that you might have thought about, might have had an opinion on, and I'm giving you a mental health spin on it, period. This particular story, it touched me, and it overshadowed everything else I was going to talk about today. I'm just being real honest, right? And so, and then the topic is something that just covered last week, and it's coming up again. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Miss US. I think her name is Chesley Chris. Chesley Chris. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I really hope I'm pronouncing it right. Chesley Chris. That's what it looks like to me. The former Miss USA. She tragically died prematurely um, due to suicide. And, you know, it bothered me so much because people look at it like, oh, she's so beautiful. She's so this. She had everything. Why would she do that? And it hits me at a much, much deeper level because I am fully aware that being beautiful, having money, having options, all those things has nothing to do with your mental health and when you're in a very dark place or a moment, right? Um, and so I don't know what was going on with her. There's a lot of speculation. It doesn't even matter. But I'm just disturbed at a few things. And so this segment started with hot topics, and we are talking about a hot topic. However, it's going into a lesson about mental health because I just think that we just are so far from the mark here. We are so far from it, and I'm just disturbed by the insensitivities. I'm disturbed by the judgments. I'm disturbed by the lack of information, and I'm disturbed by the dismissiveness. Okay, so I'm going to do some education. Okay, I'll do a little education first, but then I want to just kind of, bring out why this is important, why we're talking about this today. I feel like people don't talk about this because they think, oh, it's that one person over there or that one person over there, and it's isolated. It cannot happen to me. It cannot happen in my household. It cannot happen to the people around me. And until you have dealt with it in your face, you really have a standoffish thought process with it. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, if that person did it, they must be weak minded. If you feel that way and if you think that way, I'm prone. Paris is prone to say, don't talk to me because that's a very closed-minded way. But the new Paris, the Paris that's here to teach and educate, says, I need to give you a peek into this world. I need you to try to reconsider because the goal is if we can have a conversation and I can shift your perspective, you'll be more empathetic, you'll be kinder, you'll take your own mental health seriously. And if you see somebody's battling with theirs, you will be empathetic to them about it, right? That is my goal. I'm not going to write you off just because I feel like you say something that parts of me feel like you should know. But again, I'm not going to assume anything. Um, I, so let me just give you guys some just basic stats about, and I just want to, I'm being very careful because again, this is not something like I'm trying to take this lady's life and minimize it and make her the spokesperson of suicide. We just talked about Regina King's son who just committed suicide last week. And there are people that do it every day that are not famous, that don't show up in the news. I'm going to say that again. There are people that do it every single day. Matter of fact, there's a stat that says how often, let me see, how often suicide happens every day. And so it's like, I don't want to minimize it at all or the situation that happened, but I also am being very clear about it is a leading cause of death. It is up there, it is ranked. And there has been over a 35% increase in the suicide. Oh, here's a stat, and this might be slightly old. They said there's one death every 11 minutes. I'm going to say that again. There's one death every 11 minutes. That is super scary to me. If we continue to make this about a few people who lost their way and they're just out of the course of help, we will never be better as a world, as a people, as a community. The reality is that could have been your sister, that could have been your friend, That could have been somebody's mother. Yeah, at 30, she could have been somebody's mother. Um, that could have been somebody's fiance or wife. Mm, That could have been somebody's good friend. It's not far away from you as you think. And I'm gonna be honest here because you're not gonna be honest. I'm gonna help you. There's some of you that's gonna watch this, and there are some of you that have heard about this young lady, and you've been really quiet. You know why you've been quiet? You've been quiet because you too have thought about suicide. You've been quiet because you might have attempted it yourself. And you're being quiet because you can't judge her because you've also went there before in some really dark moments. And some of you guys is more extreme because not only have you went there before, but you still battle with it. I understand it's not hard to talk about because of this very thing. You see this happen. You have some people that have compassion. You have some people that come with judgment. I'm gonna just get this out the way. I'm so frustrated with the church folks right now. I am really frustrated because no matter what your thoughts and your views are, no matter what your faith tells you about suicide, that is a person, that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's friend, and she's a person. And no matter what you think about it, um, you have to be, you have to give more grace and stop being judgmental. I've heard people literally say horrible things about this young lady, and it's demoralizing. Again, especially demoralizing to people who are dealing with it. Because if you see how people treat somebody who went through with it, why would you speak up about it? Hey, mom, why would you speak up about it? If you are going through it and you see the treatment of somebody who went through with it, why would you speak up about it? And so, and then everyone always says this person was so kind. They seem so full of life. They seem so passionate about things, very intelligent, and all those things can be true. So while we mourn the life of someone, this has to be a teachable moment, right? You wonder why when you go to funerals, there's always a eulogy. You wonder why there's always a pastor or a minister that is, or whoever's over the funeral that does a eulogy. The purpose is to not let this loss of life, no matter how hard it was to lose it, go in vain, right? And that means that if anybody's that's in that crowd that's there, that's missing that person, to remind them just how precious life is, right? Um, and I'm here so that we can use this as a teachable moment. It's not as far as you think it is away from you. It is. It's not as far. Like I'm so perturbed by how many people talk about it so matter of factly, and they don't even realize their own children are dealing with it. Let's talk about it. And if they're honest, they don't realize maybe their spouse has dealt with it before. The thoughts. And then it just trips me out too how some religious people can be so judgmental about it. There are whole pastors who've committed suicide. Did they not believe in God? Their whole life was, dedicated to what they believe in, teaching the religion. This stuff is real. I don't come on here because I feel like I just have somewhere to talk and this makes me feel good and fuzzy inside. I'm here because this is increasing. And I told you this pandemic was not going to be kind to a lot of people. And I told you that there are some people who were already battling immensely and struggling. And that just even when the pandemic lifts a bit, right? When there's some relief and we don't have, we're not worried about the deaths anymore and people are not, the hospitalizations are not high and it normalized on some level, right? There's still going to be a trace, and not just a little trace, but there's going to be heavy residue left over from this pandemic. And it's going to be in the mental health field. It's going to be emotional and mental. Because guess what? People ignore what they can't see. You know what I mean? You think I'm telling, you think I'm just saying something. Well, let's talk about it. If somebody has anxiety and it's severe and it's crippling, they don't get the same treatment as somebody who's dealing with a disability that's physical. They might medically they could be classified the same way, but it's not treated the same way. Why? Because I can see that you have a disability physically and it affects you physically in your movement, but I cannot see that you deal with something mentally and or emotionally, and therefore it's not the same, and I do not respect it the same because I can't see it. There is a whole part of our culture that literally believes that people who talk about mental health and emotions and feelings are soft, that they are over dramatic, that they are too sensitive, and they just don't understand how to deal and survive and thrive in this world. And it's disheartening because I tend to know people who feel that way as well. And if I can't speak for everybody, but from the few people that I do know that have that mindset, they're emotionally numb. It's not everybody, but it's a lot of them. When people are so strong against you dealing with your feelings and emotions and getting them in check and becoming emotionally intelligent, 9 out of 10 times they have been so hurt. The trauma has been so deep and it's cut them so much that they can't even acknowledge because they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to. And that is just as severe. It's hidden because guess what? They can tell you, I'm keeping it real, or they can say, oh, they can do a lot of jokes that can sometimes come out inappropriate, or they can just be cruel. And however it is, they can just say that's just how they show up. And they can make it a personality thing, right? Have y'all ever seen somebody that's around you and you ask them how they're doing, or some kind of way a conversation comes up and they do one of those uncomfortable laughs and they're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just not feeling like I can go another day. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, were you joking or are you for real? And they're like, oh, I'm just joking. And they give that uncomfortable, like that awkward silence and that awkward laugh where you're like, oh my God, I think they're serious. And you don't know what to do with it because you don't want to pry. You don't feel like you're somebody that necessarily is the expert in it, but you know that something's going on. I see it all too often. Oh my God, social media is a bleeding, it's so bloody on my timeline. I'm watching people literally bleed all over social media because they won't go get the help they need. And they're going to just cry out on social media. And you think, okay, well, I'm going to be somebody to help them each and every time. And then you realize that in that moment, you could be of some help, but overall, they need a whole treatment plan and a plan of treatment to attack the bigger issue. We oftentimes look at the one situation and we don't have time to look at people's life and what really is the root of it. Listen, Ro, listen, bloody, completely bloody. I look on there and I try not to judge and I'm just like, whoa, like y'all using this thing as this is your therapist, like this is a whole couch, and you really don't need to go get professional treatment. And that's not a blow. I think we have used, see what happens is that we have used our influence in such a negative way. Let's just talk about it. Hey, Jonette, how are you, beautiful? Hey, it's so good to hear from you. Oh my goodness, I was wondering who this have a nice day was. It should be you because you would say that, have a nice day. Love it, love it. So good to see you, sis. Ro, you remember Jeanette, right? But yeah, so like I'm so upset because I think sometimes we use our influence super lightly. And you don't understand how many people you influence. So you're telling a joke, right? And you're saying, yeah, somebody should go kill themselves, or yeah. You say that so lightly. You say things and you criticize so extremely carelessly. You know who talked about this? Dave Chappelle talked about when he left. Um, he left comedy for a minute, and one of the things he came back with a special, he said he started to realize that he was being irresponsible with the type of jokes he said, and he started to realize that they became really offensive, and they became really hurtful to his community, and he had to realize that he had to take a step back. And I was impressed with that because I had a rough time watching him prior to that, because some of the stuff just got to me. By the time I saw it, it got real sketchy and it wasn't funny to me anymore. I'm just being honest. A lot of people don't share that thought process, but it didn't find it funny. So that's what I feel like is happening now. We say so many things and we just think we have the right to say them, and they're cruel and they're mean. And we make this unsafe environment for people to get the help that they need. We say stuff like, oh yeah, girl, you crazy. You really need to go get help. Sit on somebody's couch. And so you're making a joke about a real tangible solution. You're making a joke about a real thing that people deal with. Now, some people say, oh, everybody's so sensitive now. Let comedians be comedians. I'm fine with you being a comedian. But again, I think, let's just be honest. If your child dealt with suicide, I guarantee you can be a comedian, but you won't talk about suicide no more. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. They talk about the stuff so carelessly. And I'm not coming for comedians. I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about how people are so casual about their influence. You don't realize that people are watching you and you're saying things, and it really makes an unsafe space for people who are really struggling privately. There's so many people that are privately struggling that will never walk up to you and say, I don't want to live today. I thought about killing myself. Matter of fact, I tried it yesterday. There's a lot of people that won't ever say that to you. And that's why you have to always be kind. And that's why you have to always be thoughtful about what you say and how you say and how you treat people. You said it hits close to home. I know, sis. It's funny that this is the day that you came on, but I think that's all purposeful too. We were talking about the young lady who's the Miss USA, who actually, she committed suicide, and she's 30 years old. And I read a little bit more about it. And what I read about it was that she was one of the older Miss USAs. And it's so funny when they say older, like she was just that much older. I mean, she still never made 30, right? But she was one of the older candidates. And I guess they were saying that a lot of people on social media were making fun of her for being older and out of her prime and so many things. And don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that was the speculation. And it just reminds me of a reminder of us to be so very thoughtful about how we handle people. Be so very thoughtful. Let's go a little further. I want us to be more thoughtful for how we handle ourselves as well, right? It's good to handle people well but you just never know. And it might or might not help, right? Depending on how far along they are. But I also think that people lack the ability to give grace when they have not felt like they've received grace. Okay. People have a harder time giving grace when they feel like nobody ever gave it to them when they needed it, right? If they did something wrong, if somebody was super harsh with them, they begin to develop this very authoritative view, very rigid view, very judgmental view on, hey, if you do this, if you do the cross this line, it's wrong. This is your this is what your consequence is, right? And because they have that, then they're not able to give you grace. They're not able to be empathetic with you because nobody was empathetic with them. So it starts with us just all being better people. It starts with us all being more thoughtful and empathetic and caring. And then for the person, I mean, and that's what I mean by being better to yourself. There are people who repeat negative thoughts over and over and over and over and over and over in a head, and it's ruminating, right? It's tormenting them. They literally see pictures, they literally hear phrases that were something that's stuck, and most of the times it's something negative. And that person or that moment, whoever said it and or when it happened, could be long gone, but that person replays it over and over and over again. And so when you replay anything over and over, let's say whatever you listen to, whatever you put your thoughts on, you will become. So if you believe that you're ugly, if you believe that you are worthless, if you don't believe that you're worth loving, if you don't believe that that you have a purpose, you have a reason for being here, if you don't believe that you're worthy of love, if you don't believe those things, then you will continue to speak those things, and you'll start to like really grasp it and really start to let it seep down inside of you. And nobody else has to say anything negative. People could say all these positive things to you, but you really have a hard time grasping the positivity because the negative is so much overwhelming. It's so much of that. It's 90% negative and 10% people bringing in something positive. And you can't even really accept the positive because the negative is just so overwhelming. And that's not a dig. That's not me being shady. It's me saying that's a lot of time what happens. That's why people say, well, I told her that she was pretty, so shouldn't that be good enough? No, because if she doesn't believe it, it doesn't mean anything. It's going to fall flat. That compliment's not going to hit if she doesn't really believe it. So then we have to work on what the root of her not believing it is, right? I love what you said here. You said, that's why I believe, especially as Christians, it's very important that we understand, receive the grace that we have from God so we can give that grace and comfort to others. I holistically believe that. And that's even what that was my whole even point, is that you have to be kind. You have to give grace. People are dealing with things that they might not come to the mic and say, hey, I tried to kill myself last night in a tub and it didn't work. They might never say that. Just because they don't say it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Be kind to everybody. Give grace to everybody. This young lady, her parents are around, her family's around, and they have to read articles and they have to read stories where people are like, yeah, she needed to be that, that's why this does it. It's not everything. That's why she should do this, or you kill yourself, you going to hell. Like, it's just unbelievable. And I'm just so disheartened by it all. I'm just so disheartened. This is why I put the suicide hotline line up, because guess what? I don't know who's watching that's dealing with this or who has dealt with it before. It can get really dark and really quick. I don't know if she's been dealing with this for years and years and years, or if this is something that was all of a sudden, whatever it is, it happened and now she's no longer here with us. So I want us to learn from it. I want us to understand this so very much close to home than you think. I'm not asking you. I'm guaranteeing you that you know somebody who's dealt with this. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, you know people that deal with this. You do. They might never admit it to you, but you do know people who dealt with it. And if you're honest with yourself, you will be honest that there might have been a time that you thought about it before too. Maybe we're going to go through with it, but you thought about it. And so who knows where that person can be, what space they can be, and what caused them to execute that day, right? Yeah, Jenny, you said if you're in total happiness. Yes, if you're in total happiness, if that goes to total despair, only God can resurrect those thoughts to hope again. And that's from my own experience, at least. Yeah. And like you said, that's why I say I can't sit here and say that somebody's able to completely come back from those thoughts on their own. I definitely don't think it's something easy to do. And like you said, um, it's extremely hard to even find yourself to come back from that moment in that space. Um, so yeah, I really want y'all know what I think about therapy. I am a strong component of therapy. I am an advocate of it. I think that you shouldn't have to fight alone. That's like trying to go through cancer by yourself and you're not actually having a team of doctors to help you with like the treatments and things. Like it is supposed to be attacked at every side. And that's why the goal is to have these conversations, empower you with the tools, education to understand you're not alone, that people around you are dealing with stuff like this, that there is help. Oh, you don't have to thank me for posting the hotline. That's the least I can do. I really want people to understand that they don't have to deal with it alone. I really want people to get that no one's judging you. I'm definitely not judging you. People have been through it and they might just not share their story. And that's why it's important for us to, if you have the courage to do it, to share your story. I mean, some people might be ready for it and some people might not be, but it's important for you to try to share it because your testimony could literally save somebody's life. They knew that you got through it, then maybe they can have the strength to feel like they can press through it, right? And again, that's not a pressure for anybody to share anything they went through. Because again, if that triggers you and that does something for you, then no, not by any means saying that. But that's the comfort in it, in people not knowing, in people knowing that they're not alone, right? That it's not just them, that they're not broken, right? I think that's the hardest thing. And I've heard people say that before. When you feel like your life is broken beyond repair, when you believe that your life has been broken beyond repair and that you're some type of defect, then you feel like it's easier to throw it away. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times when you think your life is broken beyond repair and that nobody cares and that is too much to fix, then you believe it's easy to throw away because it's a defect. I'm here to tell you that nobody is defective, that there's always room to grow and change. There's always a way to change. And it's not to say that you don't want to change, but there's help out there. There are people that truly do care. There are people that you can be in an accountability circle with. There are support groups. I just think we are so casual with the subject, or either we pretend like we don't believe the subject is a real thing and then we don't talk about it. And I'm just here to stop tiptoeing around the subject. It's real. And I want you to get the help that you need. And I want you to, it has to stop being, oh, that only happened to that one person over there. We have to stop pretending like that's the reality. This young lady's life was so precious and it's lived in front of the world. And I can't imagine what that's like because I don't barely like posting on Facebook. So I can't imagine what my life, and I'm just the total, like people are seeing me. I can't imagine. But this story brought up a conversation that needs to happen more often. This is way more closer to home than you believe. And we need to be more honest about it. Let's talk about it. It's all up in the church. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. If you know how many people I knew that out and contemplated suicide, and you know who I really admired, and it was under bad circumstances that I admired this person. I think his name is Pastor Rick Warren. His son, I think his son's like 23 or something. His son committed suicide, and I remember reading that story. I remember when it happened, and I was instantly grieved. And I remember that he was like very vocal on all social media, sharing gospel and all these things. And this man had to publicly probably battle with his previous thoughts about suicide, battle with the fact that he lost his son, battle with the religious community, battle with the fact that this illness took over their child, and dealt with the residue of what that looked like. And publicly, I was just like, whoa. But let me tell you something. I believe that man handled that really well. I watched him, I prayed for him, but I really watched him, and I was incredibly impressed about the level of empathy he had, and that he was able to walk this line of being private but becoming an advocate and support for people who've dealt with this, who are dealing with it. And he really did make sure that he brought some necessary light into this dark area that people refuse to talk about. These conversations have to happen more. They have to happen in every area. They have to happen in the schools. They have to happen in churches. They have to happen in your family tables. We have to start bringing this stuff out, because when it's dark, darkness will get only worse. But when you bring light into it, the light has an ability to possibly penetrate the darkness. Okay? That it has the ability to do that. So, oh, Janae, I didn't even see this. You said, I always share my story when I feel like someone will be able to receive it. Listen, you know what? I know you share. And I know it's extremely hard to be that vulnerable and share something that's that vulnerable. But, I always tell you, I'm so proud of you. And I think you're so courageous for being willing to share with people. And it's completely hard, too, that some people are not going to receive it. So you have to be selective about opening yourself up to that idea of it. And hopefully you get the discernment on when it's necessary and when it's not. It's extremely hard. So I'm always grateful when I see people are vulnerable enough to share their story. I've even heard people say that they heal a little bit more every single time that they share it, because they realize that they survived it, again, just last week, I believe it was Regina King's son that committed suicide. And now this young lady, Miss USA, I'm extremely grieved by it. It's too much. And again, for every celebrity you see dealing with it, there are hundreds of other people dealing with it. If we had to go and get a list of all the deaths that have happened by suicide in the last 2 weeks, I guarantee you that you would be overwhelmed with the numbers. They just don't get media attention. Not to say that she didn't deserve the media attention. I'm saying the outrage cannot last 2 days in the news story and then we go back to normal. That cannot be how we move forward. It cannot be. It won't get anything accomplished. There has to be a new normal. We have to be more proactive. So the first thing we have to do is be more proactive with our own mental health. If we're struggling, we need to reach out for help. Nobody's defective. Nobody's worth throwing away. Things can change. I know you might have tried everything and you think they can't, but they can. And so reach out for a hand. And maybe you've reached out to somebody before they dropped the ball. And I apologize personally. I publicly apologize for people that dropped the ball with you. They didn't know what to do. I tell people a lot of times, sometimes you need to go to therapy, because your best friend can't always be the person that catches a mental health break. It's not just having somebody to talk to. It is having somebody that can help with the tools. They can help intervene and give you and equip you with the tools to get better. And guess what? You might even been to a therapist before, and that therapist was not a good fit for you. That doesn't mean stop trying. There are more therapists that might be. What's her name? I'm gonna get her name wrong. What's her name? The black Jennifer Lewis. She had a book, and I loved the book. It was an audible, and it was a very good one. It was her talking about her battle with bipolar, and I really loved it. If you can get past a little bit of the profanity at the beginning, it's a really good book. But she's so vulnerable in that book. And one of the things that drew me to the book is she said that she had been in therapy I think it's something like 14 years. I'm not even lying. It's at least 14 years. She said she had been in therapy 14 years before therapy started working. And I was like, wait, what? What? She had been in therapy for 14 years before it started working. Now, let me give you some background. She said that she went to therapy and she did not really embrace the process. And she went through a few different therapists. And some of them didn't hold her accountable like she should have been, maybe because she was a celebrity, maybe because uh, bipolar was so new in the 70s and 80s. Not sure what the complete reasons are. If you read the book or listen to the book, you'll get a little bit more insight on that. But it wasn't working, and she did acknowledge that it was her not working it. It's almost like she just owned it like it was a pet and didn't actually do the work to heal from it. And she said it took her a minute before she realized that it wasn't working because she wasn't working it. And so that story is a story of perseverance. That story is a story that your first therapist, your second therapist, maybe even your third therapist might not work. You might not fully get over depression or suicidal thoughts in your first year of therapy, maybe not your second year of therapy, but how bad do you want it? And I know that's hard when you're dealing with depression thoughts and suicidal thoughts. I know it's hard to say that. So I'm not angling this at anybody for not trying hard enough. This is not what this is. This is me saying, don't think your life should be thrown away because you don't think that there's help. Don't think that you're so broken that there's nothing that can be done for you. That's a very dark place to settle. And I want you to know there is help. There's advances every single day. You just don't know. You could try something that might actually work. That might actually work and might actually help you. So it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard subject to talk about. I know it is. But I mean, we gotta have the conversations, y'all. We gotta take it out the dark. I am trying to extract this stuff out the dark. I'm tired of just, oh my God, that person was so nice. I can't believe it. Like, I want there to be more stories of how people overcoming it. And in order to do that, we have to talk about it more. We have to talk about it more. Jeanette, you said, I feel like people are judgmental about suicide. I know my own story, but mothers in child loss bereavement group, their kids who commit suicide, wow, the judgment is so strong by outsider. You know, I agree. People are extremely judgmental about suicide. And it's from incorrect teaching. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I tell people, whatever your opinions are, don't let it have to hit home for you in order for you to have empathy. And that's unfortunately what it seems to be the what I see often is people are not having empathy until it hits their house. People are not having empathy. And I need that to go away. Listen, I don't need my son to deal with to be sad and be concerned if your son deals with it. I told y'all my breath was taken away when I heard about Regina King's son. Listen, I remember when my son was 10, it was this girl. I'll never forget it. The same year my son was 10, it was a 10-year-old girl that hung herself in the closet because she was being bullied at school. I remember where I was at and I cried so hard because I wanted to know what in the world was going on in this baby's heart and mind that she just had to take her life. It was just that much. I grieved so hard for that baby. Sure, I didn't grieve any hard, worse than her parents. But my point was, I didn't have to be her parents to grieve. It's a loss. It's a loss. We got to stop with the judgment. You're right. And this is why I want to talk about it. The judgment is duplicable. Is duplicable a word? No. Sorry, y'all. I get my words confused. Demoralizing. It is very sad. How can we be somebody that acts like we are trying to be a light into the world and we don't show compassion and love? We're supposed to draw by love, not by condemnation. How in the heck can we do that if we're so judgmental? Like, it's so backwards. And let me be clear, it's not just Christians. It is other people that do it too. But I'm more concerned about the people that are supposed to be the light. We're supposed to be the salt of the earth, the light, all that stuff. Like, But how you throwing daggers at people that's already dealing with stuff? How you not been through it? Shut your mouth. Pray for them. I say, yeah, so you're right. And like you say, you're when you have people who you don't even think about the family members. Like I said, I'm thinking about her family now, who's having to look at people be judgmental and how they're feeling about it, right? We just have to we have to do better at all of this. I love it. You said doing the work to heal it it definitely works fast. Yeah, it's about like taking an active part of your treatment. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier for some people are so down low, it's hard for them to even reach up. I get it. But some people think that it's supposed to just go away if they ignore it. And that's not always what's going to happen. So definitely taking an active step and working it and really fighting for it. Some stuff you just really have to fight for, right? You said TD Jakes said that we throw away our future by suicide, by what happened in the past, but we don't know our future yet. That's good. I like that. He said that we throw away our future when we commit suicide, which is true because then you're no longer here. And the reason you're throwing away your future is by what happened to you in the past. That's so good. Jake's always on it, but that's a good breakdown of it. Is that you let the past have such a grip on you, a super grip on you that you're not able to see beyond this moment, and you're not able to see the past. The past has clouded up your view that you can't see any further, and therefore, if you act in a way that is momentarily will relieve the pain, right, of the past and how it's affected you, you literally would throw away what's possible in the future. You can't see that far because you're clouded. So that is true. That is 100% true. That is 100% true. So it's just like being able to have these conversations, being able to understand that it's not that far from you, being able to understand that it might be you, that you just don't want to talk about it, and normalizing that. Guess what? If nobody else has told you today, I think you're worth fighting for. I can't wait to see what your life looks like in the next 6 months, let alone the next year, let alone next 5 years, let alone next 10 years. There are people that are excited about who you are as a person, and they're excited just to know that you woke up today. Yeah, there's somebody that's watching me, whether it's right now on the replay, that does not understand they're needed. And so I'm here to tell you, you're so necessary. You're needed. I need you. The world needs you. Don't throw away the ability for things to change. You're right on the other side of this. Sometimes the storm seems so severe and extreme that you don't see a way out. So sometimes you just need to hear that you matter, that you're necessary, that on the other side of this, man, it's so much better. And that, yeah, it's a fight, but it's worth it. You're worth it. I don't know who needed to hear that, but I'll say it every day if I need to. I need to even be more outspoken about this. So I will keep this. I think I'm going to just start showing the suicide hotline, just reminding people that don't speak up. People care. People do care. There's help. And if somebody is really dealing with something, you just don't even know if you can even call. Listen, I'm just so honest about it. Send me an inbox, send me a message or whatever. I'm very open. I'd rather sit up and talk to you for a moment than you feel like you have nobody. Jeanette, you're so right. You said that's why having a good support system means so much. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's imperative. It's imperative. People don't realize why relationships are important. I'm not talking about necessarily romantic relationships. I'm talking about having good people around you, a good support system, people that hold you up when you're not feeling it, people that really do care about you. It's necessary. And so sometimes if you don't have that yet, then reach out. I've heard people say they've met so many amazing people even through social media. Sometimes social media bugs me, but it is a tool. Sometimes you can meet people that really are just kind-hearted and will be a support to you as well. So I know this one, I've been going a little bit like shorter lately, but I felt like this one was very much necessary to talk about. I know the algorithms don't really let us talk about these subjects, but I mean, if not now, then when? When are we going to talk about stuff like this that matters? We didn't talk about it. We joked around when, like even Whitney Houston had an overdose and her daughter and all that stuff happened, but that's a form of suicide too. A lot of addiction ends in overdoses and people dying, and that's a form of suicide too. You didn't love yourself. Like life felt so hard and burdensome that you allowed your addiction to take you out. So I just want us to understand this is a much bigger issue than we think about. And I'm going to do a better job of talking about it more because I realize that it's definitely important. And I want to see it stop and cease. So, I mean, until that happens, I'm going to just keep talking about it, period. Okay. So if you guys were not on here today, you watching the replay, definitely comment. I want to hear what you have to say. Let me know if this helped you. Please share, like, comment, and share. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Thank you, Ro, for being on. Oh my goodness, Jeanette, I'm so happy to hear from you and see that you are doing well. It's good to know good people and check in with them. I appreciate your openness and your vulnerability. I know how hard that can be. And yes, girl, addiction is the result of trying to cope. Absolutely. Absolutely. Addiction is such a hard thing, such a hard thing. And it's an illness as well. It's people self-medicate, trying to figure out and deal with it. So we're gonna heal around these parts. You feel me? We're gonna heal around these parts. So y'all have an amazing day. I will be here on Thursday. And we're gonna go from there. All right. Don't forget the suicide hotline if anybody needs it. Yes, I will talk with you guys later. Bye.